Education, just like the flow of life in the Philippines and around the globe, continues to move and evolve. Across the world, and even here sa ating mga paaralan, mathematics and science classrooms are changing from simple memorization to deep investigation. From asking ano ang sagot to bakit ganito ang nangyari. Students are now learning not just to know, but to discover. Research from 2020 to 2025 shows a clear direction. Classrooms that encourage inquiry, problem solving, and evidence based thinking help students grow into scientists of their own making. This presentation, current research trends and future directions in math and science education, invites us to explore how global research, local wisdom, and new technologies are shaping the future of learning. Ako po si Jonas A. Almerino, and together, let us uncover how curiosity, evidence, and innovation can transform every learner into a discoverer. The purpose of this presentation is simple pero malalim. It seeks to equip educators and researchers with an evidence-informed lens, a way of seeing learning not just as delivering content, but as shaping understanding. We explore three key directions. First, how inquiry based, problem based, and project based learning, together with evidence based pedagogy, cultivate curiosity, creativity, and critical thinking, helping students learn by doing, questioning, and discovering. Second, how global and comparative studies allow us to learn from classrooms around the world, from Finland's trust driven autonomy to Japan's collaborative lesson study, to our very own innovative classrooms here in Nueva Ecija. And finally, how artificial intelligence, big data, and learning analytics are transforming both educational research and everyday classroom practice, turning data into insight and insight into action. In short, this is about connecting pananaliksik research with pagtuturo teaching so that learning becomes not only scientific but also deeply human. Across the world, classrooms are changing. The days of one way lectures and rote memorization are giving way to dynamic, participatory, and research informed models of learning. In mathematics and science education, this transformation is shaped by pedagogies that place the learner at the center. Inquiry based learning, problem based learning, project based learning, and evidence based education. Inquiry based learning begins with curiosity. It invites students to ask meaningful questions, to explore, investigate, and construct their own understanding of natural and mathematical phenomena. Problem based learning, in turn, engages learners in real world challenges, open ended problems that demand collaboration, reasoning, and creativity. Through this process, students not only master scientific and mathematical concepts but also develop the habits of the mind that define lifelong learners. Project based learning extends inquiry beyond the classroom. It transforms learning into an authentic experience where students design, create, and apply their knowledge to produce tangible outcomes. From experiments and models to community based solutions that connect science to everyday life. And untying and uniting all of this is evidence based education, a commitment to grounding every teaching decision in data, research, and reflective practice. It ensures that what we teach and how we teach are guided by what truly works best for our learners. Together, these pedagogies form the foundation of modern STEM education, one where teachers serve as facilitators of discovery and students grow as active, curious participants in constructing knowledge that matters. Let us begin with the foundation of modern teaching, inquiry based learning. Here, students take the driver's seat. They question, investigate, and construct explanations from their discoveries. It is learning through curiosity, much like natural wonder we see in young learners, exploring how things work. Sila na mismo ang nagtatanong, nag-eeksperimento at naghahanap ng sagot sa kanilang mga tanong. Now, we turn to a video example that brings inquiry-based learning to life. In this clip, inquiry-based learning from teacher-guided to student-driven, you'll see a school where the role of teaching shifts from telling to guiding, from answers to questions. Watch how teachers gradually release scaffolds, letting students take more control of their own investigations, and how learners begin to lead and discourse and generate new insights. As you watch, take note of how students ask questions, experiment, reflect, and iterate, and how the teacher supports that process without dominating it. Please use the QR code on the screen to access the video as playback is disabled during this recording. I'm sorry. So, what did we just witness? We saw inquiry in motion. Students wrestling with ideas, experiments, and explanations. The classroom was alive with questions, not rote answers. Notice how the teachers intervened sparingly, asking a problem question here, guiding a conversations there, but always allowing learners to struggle, revise, and refine. That balance of support and autonomy is the essence of inquiry-based learning. Sa ganitong paraan, natin na ipapakita ang tunay na lakas ng tanong at pagtuklas. Pagtanong at pagtuklas. That questions can drive learning and that students can own their understanding. This video shows how inquiry doesn't abandon structure. It reorients it. As we move forward, consider where in your own classroom can you shift more space for student questioning? How might you scaffold less and listen more? What supports will your learners need to lead their own investigations? In the next section, we'll explore more deeply how inquiry, problem, and project-based pedagogies form a coherent, evidence-informed approach. In this next video, we explore how students learn through problem-based learning, or PBL. Here, learners are not simply told what to do. They are presented with a challenge, a question that mirrors real scientific solutions. Their task is to investigate, collaborate, and propose solutions based on evidence and reasoning. As you watch, observe how the students think together, test their ideas, and how the teacher becomes a facilitator of discovery rather than the source of all answers. To watch the video, please scan the QR code displayed on the screen as it will not play during this recording. Now for our reflection. Problem-based learning transforms the classroom into a community of thinkers. Instead of memorizing procedures, students encounter authentic problems, open-ended, relevant, and often complex. These problems demand analysis, experimentation, and collaboration. The teacher's role shifts from direct instruction to mentorship, guiding inquiry with probing questions such as what do we already know and what more do we need to find out. Research shows that PBL strengthens critical thinking, scientific reasoning, and communication skills because students learn by doing science rather than just studying it. Sa ganitong paraan, natututo ang mga bata hindi lamang sa konsepto kundi ng paraan ng pag-iisip ng isang scientist. This approach nurtures independence, curiosity, and teamwork, all vital in preparing students for real-world challenges. Up next, we present a video example of project-based learning in action. In this clip, students undertake a project that integrates inquiry, design, and authentic outcomes. Notice how they plan, test, and iterate, and present their work. As you watch, observe how the project serves as a conduit for deeper understanding, not just about content but process, collaboration, and creativity. You can access the video by scanning the QR code on the screen since it won't play while I'm recording. Project-based learning extends the power of inquiry and problem-solving into creation. Students don't just solve questions, they design, build, or present something tangible that demonstrates their thinking. What makes problem or project-based learning unique? Is its artifact focus, a product, a model, community initiative, or public presentation, which gives purpose and audience to learning. As students plan their work, they must manage time, resources, and feedback. They iterate, revise, reflect, not once, but multiple times. Research shows that, a well designed problem or project promotes a deeper conceptual understanding, students' agency, and authentic assessment skills, especially when matched with scaffolds and formative guidance. Sa ganitong uri ng pagtuturo, hindi lamang karunungan ng nais nating matamo, kundi kakayahan at pagkamalikhain ng bawat mag-aaral. We have seen how inquiry, problem, and project based learning place students at the center of discovery. But how do we, as educators, know that these strategies truly work? That is when evidence based education or EBE comes in. Um, Evidence based education means making teaching decisions grounded in data and research, not just intuition or tradition. It involves using reliable evidence from classroom assessments, action research, and large scale studies, including randomized controlled trials and meta analysis, to inform what we do. In EBE, teachers become researchers in their own classrooms. We gather data from students' performance, observe what works, and adjust our strategies based on evidence. This approach also encourages professional reflection. Ang kakayahan ng guro na magtanong sa sarili, bakit ko ginamit ah, mm, ang strategy na ito? May ebidensya ba na ito ay epektibo? So, EBE reminds us that teaching is both an art and a science. The art is our creativity, empathy, and intuition. The science is our use of systematic evidence to ensure our methods are reflective and equitable. By applying research and reflection together, we ensure that every decision from lesson design to assessment is purposeful, validated, and impactful. So, when we teach based on evidence, we honor both our profession and our students. It tells them that we do is not accidental. It is grounded, tested, and constantly improving. Sa ating mga guro dito sa Nueva Ecija at sa buong bansa, evidence-based education invites us to see ourselves as lifelong learners, observers, analysts, and innovators. Because at its heart, EBE is not about data alone. It is about understanding the story behind the data. It is about ensuring that every learner's growth is not only seen but supported. So, to continue, from 2020 to 2025, research continues to affirm that active learning strategies like inquiry, problem, and project based pedagogies make a difference in science and mathematics education. But the evidence tells a nuanced story. Meta analytic synthesis, including recent reviews published in Frontiers in Psychology in 2025, show that outcomes are mixed but generally positive. Students often demonstrate deeper conceptual understanding, improved engagement, and stronger collaboration skills when implementation is done well. The key finding, effectiveness, depends on context and design fidelity. A method that works powerfully in one classroom may fall short in another if essential supports, teacher preparation, assessment alignment, and time for reflection are missing. These studies remind us that education is not a one size fits all science. Each classroom is a living system influenced by student backgrounds, school environment, and the teacher's skill in facilitating inquiry. Meanwhile, contemporary debates in evidence based education emphasize a balanced view, embracing pluralism in methods. Researchers now encourage both quantitative rigor through controlled trials and measurable outcomes and qualitative insight that captures the lived experiences of teachers and learners. The message is clear. We move forward not by choosing between methods, but by integrating evidence with wisdom, rigor with empathy, agham na may puso. This case study is an example of how research and professional development intersect to strengthen science instruction. In a randomized controlled trial published in an ERIC Index journal, researchers examined how teachers improve their pedagogy through a virtual professional development program supported by virtual mentoring and coaching. The innovation here was the use of a literacy infused science curriculum built on the four-dimensional pedagogical model by Lara Alicio and colleagues. As shown in this figure, the model integrates four key dimensions: language of instruction, communication mode, language content, and activity structure. Over time, instruction evolves from using the first language to integrating the second language, from routine exchanges to cognitively demanding scientific discourse. Teachers learn how to embed vocabulary, reading comprehension, and writing tasks directly into the science lessons, helping students articulate observations, construct explanations, and argue from evidence. The results were clear. Classrooms showed significant observation based improvements in teacher questioning, language integration, and student participation. This model demonstrated the power of alignment when coaching, curriculum, and assessment reinforce one another. Professional growth becomes sustained and measurable. Sa madaling salita, this case study shows that teacher learning, when guided by structure, research, and reflection, can transform not only instruction, but also how students experience science as a language of discovery. It stands as a model for schools seeking to integrate literacy and science effectively, even in virtual or hybrid learning contexts. Our next case study builds on the idea that literacy and science do not exist in separate worlds. They complement each other. Between 2022 and 2023, a series of integrated science literacy impact programs were conducted across multiple districts. These programs aim to blend science concepts with literacy skills, teaching students not only to observe and experiment but also to read, write, and communicate scientifically. Teachers receive targeted professional development focused on explicit vocabulary instructions, academic discourse, and strategies for reading scientific texts. The results were remarkable. Across participating schools, students showed statistically significant gains in both reading comprehension and science achievement. Equally important, students become more confident in using academic language, explaining phenomena, citing evidence, and constructing arguments like scientists and engineers. Observations also revealed that teachers who maintained high curriculum fidelity and participated in collaborative lesson study sessions demonstrated the strongest student outcomes. This underscores a critical lesson in implementation science. It is not just what we teach, but how we sustain and support teachers through ongoing professional collaboration. Sa simpleng pananalita, kapag magkasabay na itinuturo ang wika at agham, mas malalim ang pag-unawa ng mga mag-aaral sa dalawang larangan. They do not just learn science terms, they learn how to think, read, and speak the language of science. These integrated programs demonstrate that literacy is not an add on to STEM. It is the very medium through which scientific thinking becomes visible. From the research findings we just discussed, particularly the literacy integrated and inquiry based case studies, emerge several powerful design implications for effective classroom practice. First, pair inquiry cycles with explicit language scaffolds and formative checks. Inquiry helps students explore, but scaffolding helps them articulate. When we provide sentence frames, vocabulary guides, and structured discussions, we give students the language to express complex ideas. Formative checks, short reflections, data notebooks, or oral explanations allow teachers to track understanding and adjust instruction in real time. Second, calibrate task complexity to student readiness. Every learner thrives when challenge is balanced with support. Research shows that rubrics describing evidence use, reasoning, and collaboration not only assess learning, they teach it. These rubrics make thinking visible, guiding students toward higher order reasoning. Third, build teacher capacity through job embedded coaching and iterative practice. Studies from the ERIC Index RCTs confirm that when professional development is continuous, hands on, and reflective, teachers sustain growth long after the training ends. Coaching, peer collaboration, and feedback loops help refine practice over time. Sa ating mga guro dito, sa Nueva Ecija at sa buong Pilipinas, this means that improvement is not about one big change. It's about small, deliberate steps refined through evidence and reflection. When inquiry, language, and coaching converge, teaching becomes not just a method, but a cycle of growth for both teacher and learner. This diagram brings together everything we've explored so far, from the literacy infused case studies to the design implications drawn from recent research. We call it the active pedagogy impact model, a simple framework showing how effective teaching systems operate through interconnected layers. On the left, we see the inputs, the foundation of instructional quality, the curriculum, professional development, and coaching and assessment systems that provide direction, feedback, and alignment. These inputs activate the mechanisms of learning in the center. Structured inquiry and problem based learning cycles, rich classroom discourse and modeling, and sustain student engagement supported by social emotional learning. But the impact of this mechanism is not uniform. It is shaped by modeling moderating factors, grade level, class size, subject domain, and how faithfully the design is implemented. Kapag tama ang pagkakatugma ng mga ito, tumataas ang kalidad ng pagtuturo at pagkatuto ng mga bata. What this model emphasizes is that success is not the product of one variable. It's the interaction between inputs, mechanisms, and moderators. When curriculum, coaching, and assessment are aligned, inquiry based cycles become powerful tools for both understanding and engagement. When discourse and modeling are embedded in daily lessons, students begin to think and communicate like scientists. And when teachers receive consistent feedback through job embedded coaching, instructional growth becomes sustainable. In short, the active pedagogy impact model captures what the past 5 years of evidence have shown us, that high quality teaching emerges from coherence when systems, people, and pedagogy work in harmony. As we close part one, we have seen how inquiry, problem, and project based learning transform classrooms into spaces of reasoning, reflection, and discovery. Yet, innovation to endure must move beyond individual classrooms. Around the world, Entire education systems have reimagined how teachers teach, learn, and collaborate, creating structures that sustain excellence through trust, coherence, and continuous growth. In part 2, we will journey across global models of success, from Japan's lesson study to Finland's phenomenon based inquiry, Singapore's systemic alignment, and Estonia's AI driven transformation, to uncover what it truly takes to build powerful, resilient systems of learning.